You are listening to Slightly Sauced.
Hey everybody, welcome to Slightly Sauced. I think this is episode 208 for people keeping score. My name is John.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Tyler.
Derek.
And
I'm Jake.
you're listening to the continuation of Travelogue by people who don't know shit about shit. In the previous episode, if you missed it, 207, we were talking about the first part of the vacation that we recently all took kind of sort of together. And in that, we talked about Northern Ireland. In this part, we're going to talk about where we all went sort of after Northern Ireland, because we kind of split up a little bit. Some of us stayed together, some of us went to other places. What kind of food did you guys eat?
Hang on.
What?
We're missing a step here.
Oh, sorry.
We're missing the new segment.
What new segment?
The new segment that we add to the show every time.
Oh.
You know that one that the new segment for the show is what's everyone listening to right now?
Oh, okay. What are you
So-
listening to right now?
So my recommendation is an oldie, but it's it's a goodie, I guess, if you want to think of it that way. I say that because it's a joke band, but it's Futuristic Sector Robots.
Oh, that's a good album.
And
Hotel
it's essentially-
Coral-Essex.
Yep. It's essentially an internet meme gone awry.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
My flows hit you at straight 88 miles per hour. That's enough to generate 1.21 gigawatts, son. And I'm on the run from the Libyans. It was a straight jack move for plutonium. And when they van rolls up, it's pandemonium. 1:18 a.m. at Twin Pines Mall is when I can pinpoint my total downfall. Now they say Doc Brownie was a lonely man, but his time machine was a DeLorean.
But turned into a band. It's like nerdcore rap, but it's anyway, it's excellent. And it's at this point, listening to it now, you feel so old because it's like a time capsule going back and talking about BBSs and early internet.
I think it came from Something Awful. I think it was the We Are
did.
the Music Makers sub on Something Awful.
It did, yep. Yeah, so but it still holds up. Like it's still it's too clever for its own good, really. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
I am listening to the sweet, sweet sounds of not my old car. Like, I'm not listening to music right now because I'm really trying to get over the fact that my new car makes no motherfucking sounds.
Does it have a cool stereo in it, though?
It has an okay. I downgraded my stereo, so it's
that's the
got
only thing that's okay. I see.
It's got an okay stereo, but
need an upgrade.
I'm listening to Sirius XM. Specifically, I've been listening to Sirius XM 90s on 9, and I want to find whoever it is that makes the commercials for Sirius XM 90s on 9,
excellent.
and I want to punch them in the face.
Oh, come on, they're funny.
So they're taking all of the things that were popular in the 90s, like the Budweiser commercials, but turning them into...
It's the Sirius XM 90s on 9 5 CD changer set on random. Wow. Now how did this get in there?
Jingles.
ads for their radio station that you're already listening to. So today I heard one that used the Budweiser What's Up, but it was like 90s on 9, and you've got everyone in this commercial doing the same thing. And I was like, this is fucking terrible. Just play music. Like,
They're
I tried
chuckleworthy the first
so
time you hear
hard
them, though.
to get away from radio, and you still have the nonsense of radio, or like Downtown Julie Brown, and I was like, who are you? Get off the fucking radio. Or Mark McGrath. Why do you have a fucking why
is he the one
on
from
internet radio?
Sugar Ray, Mark McGrath?
Yes.
Why is he on
And
the...
why? I don't know. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, sorry, my cat's walking on my keyboard if you're all hearing sounds. I don't understand why in a world of all I want to do is listen to music, there are still hosts. I don't get it.
Because without that, radio has no personality, and you would just listen to Spotify.
That's true. That is the thing
They
that
were very
separates it.
upset.
Yeah.
It came with as part of like the new car. They're like, you can have a free 3 months. So I was like, I have Spotify. I think I'm good. But I've been listening to it, and every time a commercial that irritates me comes on, I'm like, nope, this is why after this 3 months, I'm just going to have my Spotify account.
See, when I had XM, I found that ironically, I found that the talk radio portion of it was the only thing worth listening to, because for me the music was it was too tinny. The
high
it was
end.
digital.
It sounds
it was better than
it sounds like it's like
FM,
low
but it's
quality
still not
MP3.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can hear it for sure. I agree.
Also, can I just point out that the Budweiser WhatsApp commercial is so old at this point?
Yeah, it's really old. Yeah.
Like, man, we're old.
Uh-huh.
Things that are so old. I was listening to K-Fun, which is our region's like oldies rock station, and the Tragically Hip came on, and I instantly went, no, because that's where we're at. Music from the late 80s, early 90s is now considered classic.
Oh, man. So the WhatsApp commercial first appeared in December 1999.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it would have been Super Bowl 2000. Where
Probably.
it really was enraging.
So
I like
I'm listening to I don't know. Actually, I haven't been listening to a lot of new stuff lately. The other day I listened to the Joshua Tree by U2 because it is 30 years old as of a couple of weeks ago. And I still feel like that album gets a lot of credit. The first side's really fucking good. Like every song on the first side of the Josh Tree is great. The second half, it's not that great. Sorry.
I'm actually glad to hear you say that.
It's really not. It's not that good. The first half's great. It's like all singles. But the second half, I think it's overrated.
I have
That's my
a
opinion,
best
too.
of U2, and that's all I fucking need.
Yeah, really. They're not really an albums band. And the Joshua Tree's the closest thing to an album that I'm interested in by U2. As for, everyone's heard those songs. So as for something you maybe haven't heard, something I've been sort of revisiting lately, there was a documentary that Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters did a while ago about a recording studio called Sound City. And it's a recording studio that's since closed, but it was a place where a whole lot of legendary albums were recorded, and it was in Los Angeles. And out of that came a album, and it's an album, sort of an assorted artist album, with basically bits and pieces of the Foo Fighters playing music with all kinds of really famous people. So like Stevie Nicks is on one song, and like Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails is on another song, and Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age is on a bunch of the songs, and like it's like a sort of a greatest hits kind of thing.
Friendships break like glass, and the devil pours another glass. It's so easy.
And it's a fantastic album. It's really, really cool. It's all new music, but it's like Foo Fighters playing with really cool artists from the 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. And it's called Reel to Reel, and it's totally worth a listen if you want just some kick-ass rock stuff. That's cool.
I have nothing. No one wants to look at my Google Play thumbs up list. It's just
Jake hates
a mixture
music.
of terrible.
Jake, do you hate music? Why do you hate music, Jake?
I don't hate music. It's just I don't know.
Have you listened to any good
Like,
podcasts?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, if I could have hotel air conditioner in my earphones at work, which I probably actually could, just so that I don't have to hear some of the
You
inane
just need
nattering that
background
goes
noise?
on.
Well, why don't you get those? I got some of those noise-canceling headphones. They work great. You should get one of those.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise that pierces through those as well.
There is. It's true. It
Yeah.
leaves a lot of high end in, but it takes out the low rumble. So,
But
yeah.
then again, we had a whole bunch of sales guys come into the office this week, and they're like, "Oh, it's like a mausoleum in there." Well, apparently, some people got in trouble for being loud in the office. I don't know what the hell that was all about.
so you're
but-
listening to annoying coworkers. All right.
Sounds like
I
Warren.
mean, it's like, yeah, they'll have discussions, but it's like, no, I'm trying to work here on my own thing. So yeah, it's just noise.
Derek, are you listening to anything?
Other than you people, the CBC.
The
I listen to the
CBC.
CBC because I am a 70-year-old at heart.
Yeah, me
The
too.
only thing I don't like on it is Light My Fire. Because Light My Fire is something a Tibetan monk should do.
What's been on the CBC of note this week? Anything interesting?
No, they just keep talking about Trump and stuff like that.
That's one of the things that
GMOs.
I really actually enjoyed that aspect of being in the UK. I felt like I had less exposure to the day-to-day politics and circus that is Donald Trump. It was nice, refreshing.
Derek, I will agree. I actually do listen to CBC on the way into and out of work. Especially our local CBC radio guy. What's his name? Chuck Norris.
Chad Norris.
Craig Norris.
Craig Norris.
Not Chuck Norris. Chad Norris.
Chad Norris. Don't make him Chad. Nobody wants to be Chad.
No, he's good. But I found that the lunchtime show, the noon show or whatever that they do out of Ottawa has, I don't know if it, to say it's gone downhill isn't fair, but it's a lot of the like fluff topics lately. Like a lot of it is Trump. A lot of it's like the other day they covered is 13 Reasons Why on Netflix good for teens to watch, or is it going to lead to more suicide? And you're just like, really?
Really? Oh, that's so lazy.
I think that was yesterday.
I mean, the answer is no. Like, calm the fuck down. That's stupid.
Ooh, see, in my line of work, answer is yes.
Oh, Christ. Now we have to have this debate. The CBC already had this debate.
We don't.
Okay, good. Because I don't want to, and also I'm not qualified. Like, relative to you, your answer clearly trumps mine. I'm just an uninformed schmuck.
So this
You're
is
like a
through
professional or
consultation
something.
with several other mental health
I
professionals.
thought we
who
weren't
are
having the
worried about-
debate.
I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm just clarifying where my statement comes from. It's not my own personal
Oh, okay.
opinion. I
All
don't
right.
have one. I'm just relating what I have heard from other mental health professionals in the field.
I see.
Can I also say that there's not enough people. Okay, maybe that's not true. I was going to say there's not enough people listening to CBC who really need gardening advice every single day for them to fill that.
Oh my gosh.
Then
It's just
again,
Ruth.
maybe
Ruth
there
every
are.
day.
Maybe
It
that is
seems
their
like there are
demographic.
because they have an endless stream of fucking bullshit emails. It is so ridiculous. I don't care about your nanotoads and your grub problem with skunks. Just shoot the goddamn skunk with a 22 and you don't have a skunk problem
That's
anymore.
also the least efficient manner by which to get gardening advice. Like, surely there's a
Right.
forum or
Google.
a subreddit or something that would better serve your needs than emailing someone and hoping they read your email on the news. Holy fuck. No wonder nothing got done, relatively speaking, before the internet was invented. You wonder
Right.
why there's such a fast pace of shit being invented and created these days? It's because people can get the answers they need to their gardening problems quickly. They don't have to wait for some asshole to answer them on the radio.
Could you imagine, like, no, I'm sorry, Sharon, you'll have to pick me up at 2:30 because at 2:00 they might read my
That's
letter and I
right.
really need to know what to do about my tomato
Like, it's
plants.
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway.
I would
Oh,
literally.
yeah, apparently there's a big blight problem with tomato plants. I like that.
See, you only know that because you listen to it.
I thought blight was like something that affected you in a video game negatively, like negative 10 to health
No, that's
over
a
20
buff.
seconds.
That's what when they buff you or debuff
no,
you.
a buff
Shit,
is
buff is
positive,
good.
John,
Debuff is
not
bad.
negative.
Sorry, my bad.
Debuff, but a blight would be like an Elder Scrolls, like negative 10 to health. And yes, those tomato plants have negative 10 to their health. When they turn black.
Is it like
It's sad.
a pox? Like a blight? Is it a pox
Yeah,
on your
yeah, or
house?
like
it's a
what is
pox
it in
on
the
you.
most recent game?
A pox on your
corruption.
house.
A blight on your house.
But seriously,
I
I would
cast a
literally
pox
double
on
my
your
listening
house.
time during the lunch hour if they just got rid of that segment.
Maybe you should write an email to them about it.
I don't
Anna Maria
believe there's enough of
Tremonti.
me. Yeah, they would read it on the air, and then where would I be? Then I'd have to listen to make sure they actually read it.
And then you'd have to issue another email for when they, of course, incorrectly construed your point.
At least when Ernie writes emails, he always knows they get read on air.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were going to talk about food and drink a little bit before we got into the other locations. I got home and I definitely wanted a salad. There was a lot of fried food in the United Kingdom.
I think, though, that
And-
that's also just part of traveling for 2 weeks. Like, when I get home from work travel, I often just want some vegetables as well. I mean, when you eat in restaurants for 2 weeks, it's tough to keep your greens going.
And to be fair, we were seeking out like specifically pub grub.
Oh,
while we were
yeah,
over
for
there.
sure. Actually, by the time Steph and I got to
Traditional
London
Irish
towards
fare.
the end of the trip, we were actively avoiding pub grub because fucking every place in London has the best fish and chips in London. And I was done.
But can
I
we
was done
take
with
some
fish and
time
chips.
to appreciate potatoes in Europe in general.
I mean, I guess.
I love like what they would call chips. They are the greatest side that I would never order here in Canada.
You don't order French fries in Canada?
Nope, I don't order
Really?
fries. I couldn't care less for them.
Okay.
But throw me across the pond and I'm like, yeah, with an extra side of chips, please. I ordered like the number of places that we went where I would order my meal and be like, and throw in a side of like those rosemary garlic chips.
See, I was kind of the
chips and curry
opposite,
is
though.
also on a whole nother level.
Yeah, man. That's a thing that we don't have here is you can get chips, essentially French fries. Just usually they're like big, fluffier French fries, and they serve it with a side of curry sauce that you dip in, which I guess anyone could make here. We have curry sauce and we have French fries, but the combination is magical. Yeah, it's pretty good.
That said, Kayla, did you have any potatoes at the reception? Because I sure
Yes.
didn't. Are you serious?
Yes.
yeah, I had
couldn't
some
eat that
potatoes. Yeah.
Oh, I ate everything on my plate and wanted more.
Oh man,
The food was really good at the reception.
It was what was
That
okay.
soup
What
was
was the
amazing.
very first thing that, or not? Maybe it wasn't the first thing, but it was like a pate almost, like wrapped in
Yeah.
prosciutto.
It was a
It was,
pate wrapped in some kind of bacon.
It was duck.
Oh, it was so.
Later on in the trip, I had duck tacos. Duck is the shit. We don't. That's something that Steph and I really noticed about the UK is that they have more variety of meat. Here, everything is pig or cow or chicken. We had duck with a meal. We had game hen. We had lamb. We had rabbit. Like it just seemed like it was more available. Whereas,
So I'll do you one better. When we were trying to decide on the menu, the other option that we were heavily considering, and
Let me guess. Pheasant.
Goose.
no, I would actually be very surprised if any of you could guess it in
Really?
one guess or less.
Trout.
No. So the other option we were looking at was pigeon.
pigeon. Fuck
And-
off.
Oh yeah, I've
Purpose?
heard of that before.
It was delicious.
Really? But
But
this would be like
Yeah.
a.
So that
I'm
reaction
sure
right
at
there,
Castle Leslie, they do a good job.
that
of
reaction
it.
right there is why we chose not to have it.
Because
Not because
no one in North America
Well,
would
these
order
aren't
it.
city pigeons. I'm thinking. No one's like.
Are you sure?
Do they-
Where's your organic pigeon farm?
Did they employ a
you can't call
hobo
it
to
a
chase
dove
down the
either.
pigeon and wrestle it into submission?
Look, I don't know what they did.
No.
but
Just look up Pigeon King on the internet and you'll see. They tried to bring it over here. It did not work. Turned into a giant scandal.
What?
Pyramid
Pigeon
Ponzi
King?
scheme.
Was this like a
Pigeon
restaurant chain?
No. It was they were selling like chicken farmers pigeons.
Oh my
to
gosh, no.
raise
It
instead
happened in Kitchener. There was someone who was charged.
Ponzi scheme that shook Canada.
I totally
Pigeon
know what
King?
you're talking about,
Yeah.
Derek. Yes.
Wow, that's something else. Okay. I don't know.
Apparently,
I eat
pigeon
pigeon.
is actually really good, but it just didn't sell here. It's very common in the rest of like Eastern Europe, especially. But that may be because
And
they had nothing to eat for like 50 years.
Whatever, man.
And the thing is, unfortunately, I will never find out because I can't get my mind past the
No,
factor.
see, I like the factor. I'll try and I'll eat anything once, man. I'm all for it. I'll try it.
I'm the put things in front of me and let me eat them before telling me what they
Have
are.
you tried
kind of
the
person.
alligator at Grand Trunk Saloon?
So
Yes.
good.
It's delicious.
Good, yeah.
There was a place. So
But I'm not opposed to alligators. They don't make me go, like pigeons
be
have
like
that
eating
like
seagull, right?
dirty
Like, you just wouldn't do it.
rodent
I guess
factor.
so. Later in the
Like I
That's
don't
because
want
they
to
are flying
eat
rats,
rodents.
but rats are pretty good too, apparently.
later in the trip,
Again, I'll never know.
Later in the trip, Steph and I were in London, and we kept stumbling into food markets all over London. And in this one food market, I want to say it was called the Borough Food Market. It was kind of like right across the Thames from the Tower of London. And we wandered into it by accident looking for something else. And there was this one stall in there. First of all, there was a stall for fucking everything. It was a really, really cool market. But there was one stall in there where they were selling exotic meats. So you could buy like, I don't know, like kangaroo and snake and like panda and all kinds of crazy shit was available at this market. And you could get all these neat meats that I've never seen anywhere else. I thought that was really cool.
I think there are markets in Toronto that sell things like kangaroo. I've definitely
Yeah, there
seen.
are. And like when I worked at Wildcraft, we had kangaroo and bear on the menu on occasion. But I guess the difference is, and maybe I'm just perceiving this because I wasn't paying as much attention to how much the food cost as I typically do when I'm here because we were on vacation. But my perception was that the menus had more of these non-standard foods on them than, like, so for instance, when you went to anywhere in the UK, not surprising because everywhere in the UK is kind of close to an ocean, they had nice fish on the menu. Very few restaurants here have nice fish on the menu. A lot of places had a lamb dish. A lot of places had a rabbit dish. That's very uncommon here. And these are not like expensive restaurants. They're just normal run-of-the-mill restaurants.
Yeah, I guess and while I did notice things like more lamb, I guess we didn't really venture outside of our comfort zone culinary-wise while we were traveling. We kind of went to places that we would normally go in North America.
Yeah, and we did the same largely. The one exception was when we were in London the one day, we went to an Indian food place, and it was, oh my God, it was phenomenal. We had some really, really lovely food. I had some kind of a lamb shank thing with like a Rogan sauce, and oh fuck, it was phenomenal. In general, though, we ate more or less what we eat at home. We ate probably more. We eat a fair bit of fish here, and we ate a fair bit of fish in the UK. But most people I know here don't eat a lot of fish. We go out of our way to put it in our diet, but in the UK, it's just very, very available.
Was it better than Chitalian?
Everything. Oh, we should talk about Chitalian. Okay, the culinary experience of the trip was Chitalian. Kayla, do you want to tell us about Chitalian?
So the one night we were all at the hotel looking for a place to eat. We're all hungry, all looking for something. And so I looked up the UK equivalent of Just Eat. So what foods around you? What are they serving? And of course, our hotel had a prohibition around being able to order in food to the hotel while their hotel restaurant was open. So you had to wait until after 10 p.m.
Which, to be fair, we ordered one of their pizzas one night, and it was pretty good pizza.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
They made decent food at the hotel. For such a sort of piece of shit hotel, they made pretty good food. The breakfast was great, too.
I don't know. That hotel was pretty good compared to
No,
some
I shouldn't
that
have
I've
said
stayed
piece of
in.
shit. I should have said cheap. It was cheap as hell, and it was really, really good.
Yeah. And so I found the Just Eat equivalent in Ireland and found this place called Chitalian, and I was intrigued by their menu because it included literally everything you can think of. There was pizza, there was donair, there was Chinese, there was Indian. Everything was on this menu, and I couldn't wrap my head around why, and I needed to find out. So I roped everyone that was with us that was hungry to go to this place down the street called Chitalian.
Now, before we go to Chitalian, though,
Pied Piper style leading a band of rats.
You should tell everybody about the food hygiene system that is everywhere in the UK. This is key for understanding Chitalian.
Yes. So there's a food hygiene system, and it's a rating out of 5. And so each business, kind of like Ontario has a food rating system where you get like A, B, C, D, like you would in school, or closed, or under investigation. You have a rating system on a scale of 5, and we never did look into how the rating scale works, but most of the places that we found had fairly high ratings, 5 out of 5. There was a 3 out of 5, couple of 4s. So you imagine they've had some infractions. Maybe they're not storing things at the proper temperature. Maybe they're not cleaning things the way they should be cleaned in whatever system it is. So we kind of made, I think offhand, a game of it to see if we could eat at a restaurant that held each of the ratings. So could we eat at a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? And Chitalian, as we found out later, was unrated, but because they'd opened their doors literally 2 days before we went to their restaurant.
And it showed. Oh my God, it showed. What'd you have? I had some kind of noodles and then some rice and then donair. Well, it was called donair. It wasn't like any kind of donair I've ever tasted. It was basically like, picture fruit by the foot or fruit roll up, but like of meat. And there was no like sauce or anything with it, and the primary spice or seasoning on all of these things was just salt. It was just like a fucking brick of salt. It was like if you bought salted meat like as a preservative, but you didn't rinse the salt off first.
Yeah, actually, it would have been better had you ordered like the chicken curry in that combination. So I had noodles, rice, chicken curry with the curry sauce.
Okay,
and
so you had
the
a
donair
sauce of some
meat.
kind, so you had more
And
than
the
just
donair
salt.
meat with the curry sauce was actually very good, but again, like licking a bar of salt.
Oh, God damn it.
It was so salty.
It was
and I
bad.
felt terrible because I dragged all of us to this place under the guise. So one thing that folks who haven't been to, I don't know if it's prevalent across all of kind of the British Isles and the UK, but a couple of times that I've visited, you will find these chip shops that have this beautiful fusion of Indian and Chinese. So you can get a lo mein with an awesome like curry sauce on top. And it is this beautiful blend of spice and of noodles, and it's great. And I've enjoyed it every time I've gone. And prawn crackers, which I've learned are available in very limited locations around our
You can
region,
get them at
which I will be
Bangkok
seeking
Cuisine.
out. Yeah. And so I had this in mind, and I was like, they've got to be able to do this. It's just like curry sauce and noodles and awesomeness, and you throw some donair on there. And I'm picturing what I imagine as what I would get here in Canada if I went to a shop that sold donair here in Canada, or if I went to our local Chinese restaurant, or if I went to our local Indian restaurant, just mashing all these things together in this awesome concoction of what you would love to eat while you are drunk. And this place, I don't know if it was they suffered from being so new, or if they just everything they are heavy smokers.
I think maybe they
and
just don't know how to
salt
cook.
makes things better. But I felt so bad because I'd built this up. I was like, it's Chitalian.
Well,
It's
and
got all these amazing things.
What I was picturing was like I could have chicken fried rice and then like fucking chicken parmesan on top of that. That sounds delicious. It's Chinese and Italian. This sounds great. And yeah, there was nothing Italian about it aside from the fact that they had pizza, I guess.
Yeah, there was no other
I don't know.
inkling of
it was quite the place.
Italian.
And it was like a fucking hole in the wall too. It was basically just like a counter in a room. It was so sketchy.
Which actually is very common in takeaway.
Yeah.
So there are businesses that are predominantly just takeaway. You go in, you place your order, and you take your food to go. And so they don't have tables set up. They have like standing room where you eat your drunken food.
So anyway, Chitalian was something. If you happen to find yourself in Belfast, please check if Chitalian still exists and then email us about it, because
But don't eat there.
I'd be shocked if it was still in business in 6
Ask
months.
someone else to eat there for you.
Yeah. It's not a good restaurant. So there's a thing. Can you imagine like a Gordon Ramsay character going into that place? Fuck.
Well, and that's
Is
kind
this
of why I
restaurant
was.
for horses? Because all I taste is salt.
Yeah.
That's why I was
Box
kind
upon
of
your
curious
house.
as to why you picked it in the first place, because it was one of those menus where Gordon Ramsay or the other guy goes in and he's like, "There's too many bloody items."
Jake was so mad.
So mad.
Okay, so to be fair,
God,
I
it was
discussed this
funny.
with Warren as well, who is another one in the group that went to Chitalian, and we were under the impression we were going to go and get to sit down somewhere,
Yeah.
not have to deal with, let's all collect the food and let's all traipse back to the hotel and then let's all eat it in the hotel room.
Well, because you can't eat it in the hotel lobby because their kitchen was still open.
Yeah, no, I was
It was an
frustrated
adventure,
with the
Jake.
entire
It was
situation.
an adventure.
I
So you
apologize,
guys actually-
and I will refrain from ever trying to lead a corral of cats to water ever again.
So you guys actually came back to the hotel and ate
We
it
ate
there?
it in a hotel room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, of course, I don't think anyone had really thought to have a drink. I think I might have took a bottle of water upstairs, and it was like 90% salt. Oh, it was funny.
Although I will say this, that is not the saltiest meal I've ever had.
What?
That was reserved for this week. So upon my return to Canada, where for whatever reason,
Is this an Ontario eye candy story?
no, this was a
Urban Dictionary it.
This was a meal provided at work, so it was pulled pork and coleslaw. But the coleslaw had more salt than my Chitalian dish.
Wow.
I didn't know that you needed to put
Do you salt
in
coleslaw? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Is that how they preserve it?
No,
You
it's
can
got
salt,
acid
put
in
a little
it.
bit of salt in.
Yeah,
to bring
but
out
like
the flavor.
put a little
but
salt in everything, but not like a lot of salt. That's weird.
It sounds like the top of the salt shaker fell off, and they're like, "Oh,
Ah, fuck it, it'll be
it's
fine.
just going to work slobs anyways. No one cares."
There's a lot of cabbage there. It'll be okay. What else did you
All
guys
right,
eat while you
John,
were in the UK?
no. I was gonna move us along. I was gonna say, well, John, you like talking. Tell us about London.
Okay, so we flew Aer Lingus, which is the most hilarious airline name in the world, out of Belfast City Airport into London. And we spent a week in London, and we were there. Well, Rebecca and Dave lived there. So Dave, who used to be on the podcast before he moved away because he hates us now, we met up with them, and Warren and Caitlin. I think Warren's been on the show a couple of times as well. They were in London at the same time, and so we met up with them a couple of times. But largely, Steph and I kind of did a lot of museum-y stuff. We're kind of giant nerds when we travel, so we pack full days, and we hit a whole bunch of museums. So we did the Tower of London while we were there. We went to the HMS Belfast, which is a World War II era battleship that was built.
Not a battleship, John. It's a light cruiser.
Whatever, it's a light cruiser. And
Technically correct.
it's set up in the river in London, and you can tour it, and that's really cool. And so yeah, we did a lot of kind of touristy stuff. We were only there for about 4 days, and we had a blast. And then the one thing that we went to on the Saturday, we took the train out of London proper. And we went to Bletchley Park, which is where they did all the code-breaking stuff in World War II. And that was like a giant nerd thing for me. I wanted to see all the Enigma machines, and during that, they built sort of what are regarded as the first true computers, and they have working replicas of those machines there, which was really neat. But then on the way back to London, we stopped at the Warner Brothers studio lot in England, and we went to the Harry Potter thing. And I was skeptical about this. This was like I got to go to the computer museum and Steph got to go to Harry Potter. And so I wasn't saying boo, but I was like, oh, fuck Harry Potter. I don't give a shit about Harry Potter. But we went to this thing. If you get a chance to go to this, it is really fucking cool. They have all of the sets and props from the movies, and they're all set up. And so you turn a corner and you're just in the diagonal alley or whatever it's called, and then you turn another corner
Dagon.
and you're in the Great Hall, and then like they just it's massive, and it's all set up, and they walk you through and they show you everything, and you kind of go at your own pace so you can see all of the props, and then they show like how a lot of the practical special effects worked, and it was really cool. It was a neat experience. So that was really neat in terms of things that we saw. And then in general, we really enjoyed the experience of just kind of bumming around London. Like I said, we met up for dinner and for beers with a few people, and we kept stumbling into these random markets. There's a pub culture there, so Thursday and Friday night, there's just people drinking on the streets because all the places to drink are too small, so they pour out into the streets. The subway, or they call it the underground, and if there are parts where you can cross streets but there's no train, and the thing that you cross streets goes under the street, that's called a subway, which is somewhat confusing and interesting. But the underground is fantastic. We got a thing called an Oyster card. It's like an RFID card, just like a subway pass or whatever, and we used it constantly while we were there, and it's fantastic. You walk down any subway station, underground station, and the train's there in 2 seconds, and you can get all over London with it. It's really cool.
Yeah, the tube is amazing. You just have to be very careful that you don't get your pockets picked while you're down there.
Yeah. I mean, there's some sketchier
problem.
areas, but I mean, like, it's no different than using the subway in New York or Toronto. I mean, there's just hobos and criminals and shit down there, so watch yourself. But and some of the stations are kind of old and dank, and they're not great. But
Did you guys ever ride it during rush hour?
we did, yeah, and it gets super busy.
It's like sardines, yeah.
But I mean, it's still so easy to use, and we were kind of marveling at the efficiency of the system and how fast people move. And one of the places that we went was in London. there is a tube or an underground museum, they call it, and it's like a museum of transport and it shows like how originally the river was like the big way people got around in horses and buggies and shit, and then they originally built the first underground lines in like 1900, and they had fucking steam trains down under the city, and the smoke from the coal-powered steam trains was so intense that nobody would use it because you couldn't fucking breathe in them. Then they invented electric trains, et cetera, but they were showing a new train line they were building toward the end of that museum, and of course, being the modern day now, they build like CAD models of what a station's going to look like, and then they simulate the flow of people through it. And I never thought that was a thing that you would do. But of course, if you're building a large structure that's going to accommodate a lot of people, be it a subway station or a mall or even a large office building, I would imagine you might simulate how people move. So they have like a swarm simulation, and they had it on a screen. You could see as people pour in, they go through, these like security gates at this rate and these doors at this rate and whatever. And so they can simulate how it's built and how many gates they need and whatever to make sure the traffic flows really well. And so I really geek out on that, on the logistics of moving that many people that quickly, and I just the public transit system in London is really, really cool. So yeah,
there's actually a half decent documentary on the
Is
London.
there?
I think it's called The Hidden London Underground or
Yeah.
Secret London Underground on Netflix right now. It's
Yep.
it's
It
pretty
is good. Yep.
The other thing that we did while we were in London is we met up with Dave and Rebecca and Caitlin and Warren, and we had Sunday roast, which I know you guys had some Sunday roast when you were in Northern Ireland as well. We had it in a pub in London that has been a pub since 18 Dickety, and the Sunday roast was fucking phenomenal.
So when you say Sunday roast, do you mean like you went to a carvery?
Yeah, they had like roast beef and like mashed potatoes and beer, and it was so
actually,
good.
I think, and Jake and Kayla, correct my memory if I'm wrong here, but I think we did that in London as well. Because I remember going into a place once and we sat down and we were confused because no one was coming over to talk to us.
Yes.
Oh no, it's not. It wasn't like that. Sorry.
I think that was in Dublin.
The place that we went,
Was that
you
Dublin?
ordered, but it was like more like a prefix menu. Like you went and like the thing that was the menu was like, do you want roast beef or do you not? Like that was it. But it wasn't a carvery.
No, I think Kayla's right. I think it was in Dublin because London, obviously, Kayla wasn't moving around.
Yep,
to too
I
many
very
places.
fondly remember Dublin.
Yeah, you're right.
Or,
Okay.
London rather. But no, I think we were like bumming around Dublin, and we popped into this multi-level establishment. There was like you could go up and you could go down, and there was like half up and half down, but there was this whole room of food.
Thank God for that other couple that were there from, I don't know where they were, what country they were from, but they were like, yeah, we were confused too. You just have to go up and talk to someone.
So it's like a buffet.
Otherwise, we
this
would not have
carvery
eaten.
thing.
Sort of. You think of it like, and this is going to make it sound like it was like a really bad, shady place, but think of it like a cafeteria sort of, where you go up and you place your order and
Right, but not a
"Do you want
cafeteria in the
roast?"
sense
Okay,
that
well,
it's like a shitty, cheap place to eat. Like
No, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so you kind of just say, I'll take some of that, and they hand it to you, and I'll take some of that, and they hand it to you as you kind of move down the line. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, the food in London was pretty great. We also ate at a Mexican place, of all things, that was built out of shipping containers, and it was delicious. I had some really, really nice food there. So, yeah. Steph and I, that's kind of how we travel. We travel for, like, museums and food, and we got our fill of that. By the end of it, we were definitely ready to come home. We had a really good time.
Well, John, I'm glad you enjoyed your portion of London.
Let's hear about
my
it,
feelings
Derek.
are very different.
How was yours, Derek?
So we flew into Heathrow, and I actually picked up a car, and we drove to Bath for a day. Have any of you guys been to Bath?
Nope.
No, I saw
had
your
never
picture.
even heard of
It's-
Bath.
It's a phenomenal city. Obviously, the biggest attraction there is the ancient Roman baths.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I did not know until I was there. They were actually the biggest baths outside of the central Rome itself. Because usually baths cost, like back then, they cost a lot of money to heat, whereas this was a natural hot spring.
So these
actually felt the water.
In
It's
Roman
nice and
times,
warm,
these
like-
baths would have been like public areas, right?
Yeah, it was a public bath. Like it was a social house. Like it was where kind of people got business done and things like that. Anyways, it was just a really awesome structure, and to see not only that, what has been built on top of it over time, because they discovered these baths a really long time ago and have continued to kind of add things to it. So there's all this architecture around it. Like Bath itself is just an amazing city. It was really cool. We walked around there for a day. Then I drove down to a town called Bovington, and it's got one of the larger tank museums in the world. Really cool World War I exhibits, stuff like that. And we were there on a certain day. They have, I think, 3 days a year. Tiger Day, Tank Fest, and then another Tiger Day, where they actually take the tanks out, or some of them anyways, the ones that run, and drive them around a track. And it was really cool to just see the actual tanks and hear the clanging of the tracks as they go around, because that's something you normally don't get to experience.
Oh, that's a good point. When I
and then
think
we
of a
drove-
tank, I think of like the sound of a diesel engine or whatever. I don't think of like what a tank sounds like. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's amazing how loud they are. Like, to think about the soldiers that would have been facing these tanks, because they're all World War II.
Be terrifying.
Facing them, or just, walking with them, and how loud they were. Like, you would be able to hear these things coming from miles away. So that was really cool. I've never gotten to see anything like that before. Really enjoyable. If anyone goes to the UK that's listening to this, or you guys, you should go check out Bovington Tank Museum. And then we drove to London, and we took the tube in from Heathrow, because that's where I dropped the car off. Oh yeah, and the other thing is driving there. It is very interesting.
You were really brave to drive. Did you drive within the city, or did you drive primarily out in the country?
We drove, I drove out of from Heathrow to Bath, and like through the town, stuff like that. Bath, I'm happy that we arrived there late, and I left Bath really early in the morning, so there wasn't much traffic. Because as I pulled out of the airport, Christina's like, turn this way, and the GPS is like, turn here. It got super confusing. As I'm driving around the corner, I end up like smoking the curb in the car. I'm like, it automatically like wrecked my nerves within the first 5 minutes of driving.
It'd be easier if they drove on the correct side of the road.
Did you get an automatic or a manual?
I got a manual, and I haven't driven manual in 10 years. So trying to like focus on driving, where I'm going, being on the right side of the road, and remembering, hey, I'm turning left. That means I can actually turn on a red light.
Oh god!
Like trying to focus on all that stuff, it's just a lot. So the first time and the second, that kind of wrecked my nerves, and then driving the second time, I was kind of worried about driving. And then as we're going to Bovington, because it's through the country, all of a sudden we're going down a road, and it just collapses down to one lane, and you're going down this lane that is literally like my mirrors are probably inches from either side of hedge.
Oh, we didn't talk about that when we
wall.
talked about Northern Ireland in the previous episode. The size of roads in some of the parts of the UK is not adequate, even close.
No, it's
For modern vehicles.
Right, but like, and when we were driving with Anya, you guys weren't with us. Steph and I and Tyler were driving with Anya the one night out towards where she grew up. So, Kayla, I guess you've been out there as well. And she was talking about there's a class system for the roads based on their width and whether or not they have lines. And like everything under a Class A is just not okay. And it's like, there's this phrase for when you're driving down one of these roads, it's too small, and somebody comes from the other direction, you have to take the hedge in order to get these vehicles past. And the two vehicles will like creep past, sort of negotiating two vehicles getting past one another on roads that absolutely were not built for more than one vehicle. And then everybody just keeps on
Or one
going.
of the vehicles will just back up to like the closest driveway and pull in so that the other vehicle can pass by.
It is something else.
Yeah, I
meant
ran into
to-
that situation as I was coming down a hill. Like the crazy thing is you'll see speed, and it's all in miles per hour. So
Yeah.
it's like go 50, and then it's saying slow, and you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And people are riding your ass. Like, I probably would, around some of these corners, I'm going like 40 miles an hour. So I think that's 70 kilometers an hour. Anyways, people are riding my ass trying to get past me. It is like the most crazy experience. After the second time we went to Bovington, I was like, well, this is easy now because I've literally gone through turning roads that are basically the exact same size as my car, and I'm alive, and I didn't wreck the car. So nothing's going to happen at this point. So after that, it was easy. But we drove back to London, and we took the tube in, which was awesome. As John said, it is super efficient. And we're walking to the hotel, and I go, haha, that can't be our hotel, because it literally is wrapped in scaffolding and tarps and stuff like that. And Christina goes, no, I think that's our hotel. And I'm like, no, that can't be our hotel. And we walk up, and it says Holiday Inn Express. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was so mad because, hotels in London are relatively expensive. I believe this hotel was...
we paid a lot for our hotel in London.
£190 a night or something like that.
And very small as well. Our hotel was not a large hotel by any means.
That's so.
Yeah.
It should be said
our
that
bed was a full bed. Like it wasn't a double. It wasn't a queen or a double. It was a full. Christina
you kind of have to realign your expectations from coming from like North American hotels and what you expect to get, like a king size bed or a queen size bed, and that you kind of have to say like that's not what you're.
Yeah, so like when we were on our honeymoon, we had a hotel in New York in Midtown Manhattan, and it was teeny. It was like a closet, right? This hotel in London was just slightly bigger than that, and it was very expensive. The London hotel as well. But everything in London was expensive. London was an expensive city.
It was. But the thing I didn't expect it to be was wrapped in scaffolding.
So was it just on construction on the outside?
Yep. It was. It was crazy because, and also we had like tons of, because we were there for 2.5 weeks. So we had 2 full pieces of luggage, 2 carry-ons, and Christina had a bag. And this hotel, you took the elevator up to our floor that we were on. We're like, where the heck do we go? Because it says this way, but that's a stairwell. We had to go up halfway to the next floor, and then we had to go back down past the original floor to our floor that we were on. Like, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds like the hotel Jake, Kayla, and Anya stayed at when we were in London last time too. I don't know if you guys were on the same floor as we were, but you basically get off like the elevator, and your options are walk down the hall or go like down a couple steps and then turn right and then go down a couple steps again, and and then back up a little bit, and you're in this weird like kind of offshoot.
Was it a Holiday Inn? Because we may have been at the same one.
I don't know. I don't know if it was or not. Do you remember?
It was a Best Western.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's pretty much the same thing.
That was definitely in a basement. Now, to compare that to the one that we stayed in Edinburgh this time around, they said, oh, well, you're on floor -1. I'm like, oh, crap, we got a basement room. But it wasn't even that much basementy. The Best Western was definitely a basement.
Yeah. So after the hotel, like, already our experience there is on the downhill. So we woke up in the morning, and Christina wanted to go see the Tower of London. That was what she wanted to see in London. So we're like, okay, we'll do the Tower of London first, and then right across the river, it's HMS Belfast. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna walk across the river, do HMS Belfast, and I figured that'd be a day.
We did that in a day. That was a good day.
Yeah. So I figured it'd be 4 hours. And the thing you have to remember about London is stuff closes at, I think, 6, and most stuff opened at 10.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like you could wake up at 7, go to a place, tour that, and then go to another place. Like, you had very limited time constraints. The Tower of London, I called it the Tower of Lines because we spent the whole day there.
Did you really?
And 4 hours of which were in lines.
No kidding, because we were just had our run of the place. We walked all over the place. It was great.
I think we had the issue that we were there on the bank holiday.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's something I didn't take into account for. So we left the Tower of London at about 5 o'clock, and I was like, "There's no way we can go see HMS Belfast."
So we
now.
did the
And Belfast was what I wanted to go see.
we did the British Museum or the Museum of Britain or whatever the hell it's called in the bank holiday, and it was a fucking zoo. Like it was.
Is that the one at crap? What the name of that square?
I don't remember, to be
Trafalgar
honest.
Square?
It's massive.
Yeah,
this
Trafalgar.
this museum, Alex had told us because he'd been there before that he went and spent 3 days there and he didn't even get through half of it. We went and we basically just went through like their North America area and we were going quick and we barely got through it. Like you could.
Does it open up like when you walk out of it? Does it? Is it? In
Yeah,
the
it's all
courtyard there?
courtyard. Yeah, and it's got a
Yeah,
gate
so that's
around
Trafalgar
it.
Square, and then you got the big
Yeah.
Canadian
Yes,
embassy
that's
building.
the one.
Stairs
Yep,
and
yeah, that's
yeah.
the one.
Yep.
You could spend a week at the Museum of Britain easily, and it was just like shoulder to shoulder people. I was claustrophobic through a lot of it. So yeah, I think the bank holiday is something to know about and avoid if you're doing touristy stuff in London for sure. Because I don't think we had as bad a experience as you did, Derek, but it was definitely pretty rough.
Yeah.
What I
Well,
found
anytime
really
you spend 4
interesting-
hours of lines, it's like Disney World.
What I found really interesting when Jake and I were in Scotland, so we were in Edinburgh after we left Ireland, and we were there mostly through the week, the end of the week, so Thursday, Friday, and then going into the weekend, and then we actually flew home on May 1st, which would have been the bank holiday. And so what I found was that the city was really quiet through the week. So the Thursday and the Friday that we were there, we kind of did tours, we walked around. It didn't feel very busy. But then the weekend hit and we did a tour. So we went back through the Royal Mile and it was packed. There were so many people that had come in for the bank holiday specifically because they had it off of work or off of school that it made just moving around uncomfortable.
Speaking of coincidences, I heard you ran into my brother while you were over there.
We did. And it really was a coincidence. And had it not been for me putting up a bit of a fight around seeing the gardens and the Ross Fountain, we wouldn't have actually seen your brother. And so we were walking back. We'd done a day out. We'd walked Arthur's Seat. So Arthur's Seat is an elevation in Edinburgh that I think is the highest elevation in the city proper. And so you can walk to the top of it and get this beautiful overview of the city. So we were walking back from that and we were getting back to the point where we needed to turn off to get to our hotel because we needed to get to an airport. And I was like, but we didn't see the fountain. Can we go see the fountain? And Jake, who really values being on time for things, is looking at me like, are you fucking kidding me? Do I want to see the fountain? No, I don't give a fuck about the fountain. We need to catch, we have a bus that we need to take back to the airport so we can go home. And I was like, let's go see the fountain. So Jake gave in and we did go see the fountain. We're walking up to it and we're passing, there's a park in the area and we're walking by and when you see people in places you're totally not expecting them to see at all, you're like, those people look familiar. Holy shit, I know those people. And it was a wonderful coincidence to run into your brother and his partner at the fountain. But it was kind of one of those oh my God, you made it. How was the drive? Because they had been driving through parts of England as well as Scotland.
Yeah,
and
I think he made his girlfriend drive most of the time.
Smooth move. Yeah, that sort of thing is
she's
weird.
a brave girl.
Steph and I, we ran into Warren and Caitlin twice in London, just not planned at all. And we just kind of were in the same spot. I mean, we were doing sort of touristy things, so I guess it's not too crazy, but it's weird when that happens.
I'm just going to comment before we get off track here. The fountain was closed.
Oh,
the fountain wasn't closed.
There was no water in the damn fountain, and there was a gate around it, and there was a sign that said the fountain is not open.
If there's no water in a fountain, it's just a
closes the fountain?
statue. That's not a fountain at all. It's a statue.
It was a great statue.
Did you guys travel out of Edinburgh at all when you were there?
No, we didn't. We stayed in the city.
No, just stay in the city. Yeah, like, because Christine and I, after London, the kerfuffle that was London, headed up and flew to Glasgow, and then I rented a car again.
Fuck,
put on
you
my
were
big
brave.
boy brave pants.
Jeez.
And it's funny because we rented a mid-size car, and I was like, I really don't want anything bigger than that. And each time we got a Nissan X-Trail, which is pretty much the exact same as the X-Trail here. Like, it's a mid-size SUV.
That's not at all what I thought you were going to go with that, because last time we rented a car, we rented what they claimed was a Jeep, which is like the biggest car you could possibly get, and it was, granted, it was shaped like an SUV, but shaped like an SUV, like what do you call those stupid little cars?
It was an Audi A4.
Yeah. Anyway, it was smaller
like
than
a
my
little
sedan.
hatchback.
Yes.
I think that's the Audi A4, right? It's a little hatchback almost.
Yep. It's a 5-door, and it is teeny tiny when you're expecting a Jeep
It's a
sized
Matchbox
vehicle.
equivalent.
Enjoy your Jeep. It's a Jeep as in the terms of what a Jeep was in World War II. Big enough to
Yes.
carry 2 people and a 50 caliber machine gun, and that's about it.
Yep.
You should really write the descriptions of the vehicles on the rental websites, Derek.
It would just be a bunch of people getting angry and then having to look up what stuff is. Anyways, so we drove north into the Highlands. Incredibly beautiful scenery. Probably some of the most breathtaking scenery I've ever taken in. Mind you, I have never been out west to BC or Western Alberta.
You gotta go down south
it's
too.
just-
Kentucky's like that. It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, I've heard. I actually kind of remember 'cause as a kid we did drive through the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
Just do yourself a favor and get out to the Grand Canyon sometime.
Oh, the Grand Canyon's
Yeah.
phenomenal as well. Yeah, a few years ago,
No, I have
Steph
the
and I
travel
did
bug and I have
the.
to go all these places.
A few years ago, Steph and I
yeah,
did
so
the-
actually I should point that out real quick. This is Derek had to get a passport for all of
Oh
this.
yeah, this was your first
This
big
is the
travel
first
thing,
time
wasn't
you
it?
actually went out of second time you ever went out of Canada, right? And then the first time
Yeah,
you flew on a plane?
I had to test out the passport, so I went to Buffalo to see the
Ew.
Navy ships that they have in Buffalo. And when I crossed the border there, and the border guard said, "What's your business in the U.S.?" and I said, "I'm going to see the Navy ships in Buffalo." And he looked at me and he goes, "There's ships in Buffalo?" And I was like, "Yeah, like you can literally see them right over there." And he looks and he goes, "Oh, that's what those are."
What?
And he looks at me for a bit, and then he starts typing in his computer, probably to check if I'm a terrorist trying to bomb their national Navy monuments.
Good thing he was paying attention when
Anyways,
he's going to work every day.
We drove through, went north into a town called Inverness. No, sorry, not Inverness. I've Inverary. There's a lot of inns in Scotland, I found out, and that's where Christina's heritage comes from. So they had a castle there that her family built like 500 years ago or something like that. And we toured that, and then we drove back to Edinburgh through crazy snaking mountain roads again that say go 50 but slow 50. I'll never forget slow 50 miles per hour as truck drivers ride your ass. It is very hilarious. We drove to Stirling, which if anyone goes to Scotland, Stirling is what I recommend. I could have spent a week there. They have the William Wallace Monument. Everyone knows William Wallace, aka Mel Gibson, and
One and the same.
one in the same. Yep. And they have Stirling Castle, which was the seat of the Scottish royal family for a very long time because it was directly in between Edinburgh and Glasgow. Another really cool city, just built on a hill. Stirling Castle is really cool to see. And then we drove to Edinburgh, and Edinburgh, again, another fantastic town. Literally everything about Scotland I loved.
You found your homeland,
London,
huh?
hated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could live in Scotland. And then when we woke up in the morning to fly back, we had emails on our phone saying that your flight has been canceled.
You had a great trip.
So we had to call. I called Air Canada, and because our one flight got canceled, because our one flight was delayed because we were supposed to fly into Newark, so we were going to be stuck in Newark for 23 hours. So we ended up flying to Frankfurt and then flying home. We actually beat the plane that we would have gotten home by 30 minutes. So it was all very hilarious. But yeah. So I also made it to Germany.
There you go.
Yeah, never would have thought that. Made it to my ancestral homeland.
That's pretty great.
It was kind of fun. It was funny too, because in Ireland, I was like, "Did you ever?" We all went to the North Coast. No, Kayla, you didn't go, and Tyler, you didn't go. John, you went. You were there. We all went to the North Coast, and we could see Scotland. And I looked at Christine, and I said, "Did you ever think you would see your ancestral homeland from Ireland?" And she goes, "No."
Oh,
and
so
I never
many.
thought the first time I would step on my ancestral homeland would be in an airport, just flying back home.
There were so many
when
rocks.
we were at Edinburgh Castle, not so much ancestry, but current
Sestry.
place, current
Just
ancestry.
ancestry.
Gotta be careful with that.
yeah, careful.
Yes. There is a landmark on the castle grounds at Edinburgh Castle that is dedicated as Canadian soil, because back in the 1700s, in order to purchase land in another country, you had to be physically in that country. And so what they did is one of the folks from Scotland traveled over to Nova Scotia and brought back Nova Scotian soil, and it was there was a spot dedicated and designated Nova Scotia, Canada at Edinburgh Castle so that people would be able to purchase land in Canada.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
That's awesome. I
So there's a
did not
plaque.
see that.
Yeah, there's a plaque right outside, right before you go into Edinburgh Castle, that says, like, in this spot in 1700s, like, this is dedicated to Nova Scotia, and this is the place that people stood so that they could say, yeah, I'd like to buy a plot of land in Canada, please. So what are people... I know one of my favorite things about traveling abroad is bringing back super cool liquor. So I'm wondering, what did people import with them?
I brought back gin because when we were at Castle Leslie in Northern Ireland, they had a bunch of gin there that I
Did you get the one that had like that came with raspberries or strawberries and cracked black
that's
pepper?
the one I got. Yeah, strawberries and cracked black pepper. I forget the brand of gin that he gave me. I had some limited options at the duty free at the airport when we were flying out of London. But I brought back two types of gin. One is a Caorunn. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's Caorunn. I think it's from Scotland. And the other one is a gin called Short Cross, and it's from Northern Ireland. I haven't tried the Short Cross yet. I'm drinking the Caorunn right now, and it's delicious. So I wanted to have some gin because while we have gin here, kind of like the nicest gin we have, I guess this is a subjective thing, is Hendrick's. We've got like Beefeater and Tanqueray, but everybody has that shit. In the UK, they have places called gin houses where it's like that's the focus of what they do is all kinds of different gin, and that's not... whiskey is taken off here for sure, and we've got a wine culture and a beer culture, but we do not really have a gin culture. So that's what I wanted to bring home. The problem is that there's not a huge number of drinks to have with gin. I just drink it with ginger. I know Kayla likes it with tonic. A lot of people do martinis. I'm not a huge martini fan myself. I don't know. So I'm exploring.
I had, so speaking of the gin houses, one of the, I guess it would have been like a bar that Jake and I walked into. Their front page of their menu was a wide variety. I think there were 15 different gins, local and imported, on their menu in Edinburgh. And I was... totally shocked that there was a whole dedication. And then what I started to notice, all of these places that designated themselves as proprietors of gin, like these gin houses. And I tried a rose gin, which was very nice. And I tried it. The other thing I found really interesting was the menu of tonics. That so the way this place set themselves up is you order, and all of their gins are served as a double, And if you needed to order less than a double, you could, but they were all, their standard measure was a double. And in your double was included your mix. And they had like, I want to say close to 8 different mixes. And the one thing that I found fascinating was how many different types of tonic there were.
Yeah, definitely. And there was also
So
a couple
many
of different
tonic.
There were 3 or 4 different types of ginger ale in a lot of places as well, and different types of club soda too. So that was really neat.
Yeah. So I tried a Mediterranean tonic. It was by Fever Tree. That was one of the names that I saw come up
Fever
multiple
Tree
times
was
in addition.
that was the type of gin that I had with the strawberries and the black pepper at Castle Leslie. Unfortunately, I couldn't find Fever Tree in any of the shops we visited to bring home.
So Fever Tree was actually the tonic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not the gin.
I'm sorry. Okay, I must have it mistaken.
Yeah.
Then.
It might also be a gin, but Fever Tree was the tonic, and they had a Mediterranean tonic. And I was asking our server, I was like, what differentiates a Mediterranean tonic from any other tonic? And she's like, I don't drink gin, and I don't drink tonic, but from what I've heard from other people, it's like heavier. I was like,
Okay. Sure.
I'm not sure what that means, but I tried it and it was lovely.
Was it heavier?
No, I wouldn't have described it as heavier at all. I would have described it as more robust, a flavor, and it is something
like
that I
layman's
sought
heavy.
out. It's something that I would have sought out as a beverage on its own, because tonic is not traditionally a beverage that I would ever drink without putting something else
That's why
in
I've
it.
not really tried a lot of gin and tonic, because I've accidentally taken a slug of tonic when I thought it was Canada Dry, and
Yeah.
it's not a thing I
No.
want in my mouth.
It's super gross.
But like, I've never tried it with gin, so maybe I could have my mind changed. I don't know.
Yes. Maybe. But so I tried, because my usual, if I'm trying a mixed drink, and what I like about the way they served it was, of course, gin in one glass and tonic on the side, mixes you see fit. And so I tried the gin first, which was a lovely rose gin. So infused with like rose hip and things like that. And then I tried the tonic on its own. I was like, wow, this is actually a nice beverage. It's light, it's refreshing. It has like a robust flavor that isn't tonic. It's not tonic flavor. It's not like that quinine, like, because that's what the thing in tonic that makes it tonic is quinine. It doesn't have that overwhelming like medicine taste to it. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Cool. Well, I'm drinking some of that K around right now. I'm just drinking with some ginger ale, but I've got chunks of watermelon in the bottom of it, and I'm getting toward the bottom, and now it's just watermelon gin, and it's fucking delicious. So I want to like take some of that gin and like put watermelon in it, so I can have watermelon gin whenever I want.
I brought home, so Jake and I, when we went to Edinburgh Castle, they have I don't know that they
Almost
have
like a house brand, it seemed like,
Yeah.
but
like they have a whiskey bar in the castle, and so they had tastings on, and one of the tastings that they had was a honey whiskey, which Jake tried. I didn't try that one. I tried their whiskey cream, which is like a Bailey's, like an Irish whiskey cream liqueur, but made with a scotch, like a scotch and a Scottish scotch. And it, I know, right? It was awesome. It was all the things that Bailey should be, but isn't. And one of those is like enjoyable on its own, and not just mixed with your coffee in like a B52 or an Irish coffee.
Yeah, Bailey's alone is not great. It's good over vanilla ice cream. But I assume that Bailey's is like the mass-produced cheap version of like what Irish cream can be. Not that I don't like Bailey's. I do like Bailey's a lot, but I assume that there's nicer variants of that theme. I've just never tried them.
And that's how I felt about this scotch cream. And what I didn't do was buy any while I was at I talked about it and I was like, oh, I should pick some up. I really like it. But they didn't have it in bottles that I really like. They had it in quite large quantities, and I wanted a smaller bottle. So I put it off. But when we made our way to the duty free, when we left Dublin, to fly back to Toronto, I was checking out the duty free. And I was looking, then they had a huge wall of Baileys and all the Baileys variants.
Was that at World of Whiskeys?
Yes. And just like an insane number of Bailey's varieties. And I was like, no, like I get Bailey's. I know what it tastes like. Put peppermint in it. It's not going to be much different. But what I did find, and I bought it more because the name made me laugh. And every time I go, so I've been sipping on it throughout the evening. Every time I go to get it out of the fridge, I keep saying the name of the drink over and over because I just find it hilarious. It's called Cool Swan. And so every time I'm like, Cool Swan. It's just kind of a ridiculous name, but it's a lovely, and it is an Irish whiskey-based liqueur. It's a cream liqueur, but it's smooth and it's more, it doesn't have the same bite that I find that Bailey's has. It's more of a creamy, more of a smooth, and more of a palatable drink on its own with ice than I find Bailey's to be. And I've been loving it. And the other thing I bought was a gift pack. It was a Hendrick's. So I did buy some gin. Hendrick's is my preferred brand if I'm not drinking Dillon's gin.
Delicious
And
Hendrick's.
so-
I don't know if I've tried Dillon's. Do you have Dillon's at your place?
Yeah, we've
I'm
got
gonna
Dillon's
try
here. We have
some
a
next
couple
time
of
I come
different
over.
varieties.
I bought some Hendrick's
of
recently, and I
Dillon's.
love Hendrick's.
So we were looking at Hendrick's because they were selling, of course, the liters duty free, and they had this high tea gift pack, and it was a liter of Hendrick's gin, but it also came with a tea mug, like a teacup and saucer that has this great Oscar Wilde quote on it, and it's got this hilarious looking monkey with these wide Coke eyes. It's the most adorable mug. I'll take a picture and we can put it up in the show notes. But I bought it because I wanted this mug. And particularly because the biggest influence in my decision was the pack of Hendrick's that had the teacup and saucer and 1 liter of Hendrick's gin was about 10 pounds less expensive than the single bottle of 1 liter of Hendrick's gin.
Well, you did all right then.
Right? I was like, that has to be a typo. Like, it can't be just, I think it was like 30.
I think it was 35 versus 45 or something like that.
Yeah. 35 pounds versus 45 pounds, and I get a teacup and saucer. Done.
Okay. Well, shit, that was a good trip. I guess we're going to have to get back to regular articles next time, though. Oh, well.
Ooh.
We should go traveling again. Anyone up for another vacation?
I can't afford it.
Yeah, I just put a furnace in. I got a no vacation for a while. All right, well, listen, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us, of course, you can always send us an email, contact@slightlySauce.com. All the good stuff is at slightlySauce.com. Go check it out. And, of course, you can subscribe to the show, fucking iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. We're there. And then you get the shows automatically, which is important because we don't have any kind of a schedule that we keep to. So you're probably never going to know when there's a new episode if you don't subscribe. So you should do that if it's a thing that you like. That's it. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. And stop recording.